Good evening, I'm Diana Skye and you're watching World News Tonight live from Warsaw. Russian strikes pounded Ukraine's capital of Kyiv overnight, with a large-scale drone and missile attack causing several fires to break out across the city. Meanwhile, Western defense ministers vowed to provide Ukraine with more weapons. Now we'll have more on that in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Polish and German ministers tackle migration crisis at an external EU border. And Poland proposes new maritime security center amid rising hybrid threats. And Warsaw's iconic Palace of Culture and Science turns 70. Another night, another attack. Relentless drone and missile strikes rocked Kyiv, hitting shelters and streets alike and sparking fires throughout the capital. Now, lives are lost, infrastructure is damaged, fear spreads. Yet Ukrainians keep moving forward. Our chief political correspondent, Aaron Damon, reports on resilience in the face of war as Kyiv braces for what's to come.
Another night of attacks from the air.
She's a very brave dog. She barked and threw herself at the drones. She warned us about 30 seconds before the strike.
Another night of terror.
I have become anxious and fearful, and at some point I am not able to control it anymore.
Another night of war.
Imagine a situation where you go out into the street and a person is shot right in front of you. People experience this feeling every day.
In Kyiv, a wave of drones and missiles rained down on the city, killing at least 2 people and hitting a metro station where hundreds were sheltering. The owner of this cafe saying his business was damaged for the 6th time since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion.
We've got used to it. We come to work and clean up. We keep working and prepare coffee to lift people's spirits.
People's spirits and lives at stake as the political back and forth between Kyiv and Moscow continues. President Volodymyr Zelensky is again calling for face-to-face talks this week with Vladimir Putin, while the Kremlin says it's open to striking a ceasefire deal, but that Russia's core goals remain.
It was a tough night in Kyiv. Another massive strike was deliberately calculated to overload our air defences and try to bypass the capabilities of our warriors.
That was Zelensky at an online meeting of the Ukraine Defence Group on Monday, chaired by Germany and the United Kingdom, as he introduced the country's former Prime Minister and new Defence Minister, Denis Shmyhal, who had a financial call to arms.
Ukraine needs $6 billion to close this year's procurement gap. This will allow us to build more FPV drones to hold the line, more interceptor drones to counter Shahid attacks, and additional deep strike weapons to take the war back to Russia.
On the same day, ambassadors from Ukraine's diplomatic missions arrived in the country's capital, along with the likes of Foreign Minister of France, Jean-Noël Barrot, who announced French companies would now manufacture drones within the war-torn country. It comes as Ukraine urges organizations, including media around the world, to use the Ukrainian pronunciation and spelling for people and places, not the Russian version.
What the Kremlin is doing is a particularly insidious form of hybrid warfare that's taking place not on the battlefield, but in the realm of language. And what's interesting about this specific battlefield is that it's not taking place in Ukrainian or Russian, it's taking place in the language of a third party, in the global language of English.
A push for culture and sovereignty, backed up by Germany's assurances that it will dispatch 5 Patriot air defense systems to the front line as soon as possible, with the US replacing Berlin's arms through a deal with NATO. And as the Kremlin refuses to rule out a meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump in Beijing in September, the battle for weapons and dance of diplomacy is only intensifying. Aaron Darman, TVP World.
Poland will extend measures restricting illegal immigration, including the suspension of the right to asylum on its border with Belarus. Now, the Polish Interior Minister announced this as he hosted his German counterpart at what is both Poland and the EU's external border. Our reporter Marek Steele was on site at the Polish-Belarusian border and gives us the details in this next report.
We are standing where the European Union begins. That's how Tomasz Siemoniak, Polish Interior Minister, started his speech at a press conference he held here at the Polish-Belarusian border alongside his German counterpart, German Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt. Siemoniak invited Dobrindt to see this border after a summit that took place last week on Friday. The two, together with the other interior ministers of Germany's neighbors, they met on Zugspitze, Germany's highest peak, to speak about how to tackle illegal immigration in Europe.
We will prolong the checks on the border with Germany and Lithuania, the buffer zone, and the temporary suspension of the right to asylum.
According to the Polish border guard, the effectiveness of catching and preventing illegal immigration here on this border has reached 97 to 98%.
From the beginning of this year, we've had here in Podlasie more than 16,300 attempts. That means that illegal migrants try to cross that border illegally, get to Poland, and then go straight to Germany and other countries in Western Europe.
The issue of migration, and especially illegal immigration, has reignited Polish society once again. This month, Poland reintroduced border checks on its border with Lithuania to prevent people trying to get into Western Europe through Lithuania or Latvia and then through Poland. But Warsaw has also introduced border checks on its border with Germany in response to Germany, which did the same and later sharpened these checks, but also to far-right activists who formed militias on this very Polish-German border, claiming that Germany was pushing back migrants into Poland. The German Interior Minister, who spoke here today in Połowce, said that these claims that Germany was rounding up migrants and sending them to Poland were false.
I heard about reports that Germany is rounding up migrants and sending them to Poland. This is false. These reports are a sign of ill will and target Polish-German relations.
Last month, major Polish cities saw anti-immigration marches, which were organized by far-right politicians, especially from the Confederation Party. For TVP World from Podlasie, I'm Marek Steel.
Poland is stepping up efforts to secure its Baltic coastline amid rising hybrid threats in the region. A new proposal under review in Parliament could establish a maritime security center tasked with protecting critical infrastructure from potential attacks by Belarus and Russia. Our defense correspondent Zuzana Jurek has the story.
Poland is moving to bolster its maritime security. At least that's the logic behind the proposed amendment of the law on emergency management. The amendment's key points include the changes to Government Security Center responsible for the management of crisis situations. Most notably, however, the amendment envisions the establishment of a new institution dealing with seaborne defenses, the Maritime Security Center.
This unit is to monitor the situation, the security situation in the Baltic Sea, especially the critical infrastructure that is a target of hybrid attacks and hybrid threats.
The activities of the center would be coordinated not by military personnel, however, but by civilian border guards.
Poland and other Baltic states are facing, they are below the threshold of the war. Therefore, you need the unit that is not necessarily related or strongly related to the one of the branches of armed forces. These hybrid threats that, as I said, are carried out below the threshold of the war require a slightly different approach from the states.
And what is driving the need to bolster the sea's security? Suspected sabotage attempts carried out on undersea telecommunication cables and critical infrastructure, such as the Nord Stream and Baltic connector pipelines in the Baltic Sea region. Since November 2024, over a dozen instances of damage or cuts to underwater cables have been reported. However, experts say that since last winter,
there have been so far no other spectacular incidents compared to the Baltic connector, so cutting of the gas pipeline between Estonia and Finland, or Estlink 2, so the grid connection between both countries, or numerous telecommunications cables.
Part of this can be accredited to the NATO alliance's policing mission, Baltic Sentry, which has been in effect since January.
It will involve a range of assets, including frigates and maritime patrol aircraft, among others, and will enhance our vigilance in the Baltic.
But according to experts, more comprehensive approaches are needed to address the regional threats effectively.
We are still missing a stronger maritime component and maritime cooperation. On a bilateral basis, we have to take care of our cooperation with our Nordic partners in the Baltic Sea, especially with Sweden and Finland.
Though the issue of improving the security of the Baltic Sea region is an urgent matter for NATO as a whole, it so far remains to be seen when, and in what final form, Poland's new regulations will come into force. For TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
Warsaw is seeking to expand its technological and defense capabilities through strategic investments in space-based systems. Now, Poland is in advanced talks to acquire a stake in ISI, a leading manufacturer with key operations in the country. Sonia Gata-Biszczan reports.
Poland eyes ISI. The government is looking to acquire equity in the Finnish satellite tech company co-founded by Poland's Rafał Modrzewski, says the Financial Times.
What ISI provides countries is an ability to see any place around the world within 1 hour from request. You can be there virtually instantaneously. We can take an image of what's going on regardless of weather conditions or time of day. So you can take that image at night, you can take that image through clouds, and that image is available to you within the next 20 minutes, and you know what's going on, right?
ISI specializes in synthetic aperture radar satellites, which, unlike more conventional optical observation programs, provide reliable satellite imagery regardless of weather conditions or the time of day, making them critical for security and defense.
We can see the movements, for example, of the army in satellite images, right? So we can see how the enemy is approaching, for example, our border.
Ukrainian officials know that ISI has been Kyiv's important partner in fighting Russian aggression. Notably, the company supplied Ukraine with imagery of Russian troops ahead of Moscow's 2022 full-scale invasion. But advanced satellite tech is also crucial for civilian use.
We can see, for example, the influence of the weather, because we can expect the floods, we can expect the drought, we can expect the landfalls, and we can be prepared more.
To date, ISI has launched 54 satellites, of which half are run by various countries' defense authorities. Earlier in the year, the Polish Defense Ministry signed a $230 million agreement to purchase 6 satellites from the company. For TVP World, I'm Sonia Gata-Biszczan.
Just weeks after NATO leaders reached an agreement to boost defense spending, the alliance may be facing a serious challenge. Andrej Babiš, a populist billionaire and frontrunner in the Czech Republic's upcoming election, is threatening to reverse his country's commitment, raising concerns over the future of NATO's cohesion. John Todd has the story.
NATO leaders in The Hague last month after an historic agreement to boost their defence spending target to 5% of gross domestic product. But this display of Western unity may now be under threat.
If I were at a NATO summit and we were discussing the 5% defense spending target, I would simply say that we need social peace here.
The Eurosceptic frontrunner in the Czech Republic's October election says he would scrap Prague's 5% defence pledge if elected. Some say Babiš is a populist looking to broaden his electoral appeal.
Babiš's campaign is generally driven by the opinions polls, what they say that should be done. So this can be quite disconnected from the future policies.
The latest poll puts Babiš's ANO party on 31%. The Spolo alliance trails on 21%, one part of the ruling coalition. The far-right SPD is in third place on 13%, with the centrist STAN coalition members backed by 12%. Analysts say Babiš is a billionaire businessman who takes a transactional approach.
This ideological positioning is very much opportunistic, and to some extent it's window dressing. So yes, I mean, I think if he can do a deal, he'll do a deal if he thinks it's in his interest. And he's not someone who thinks in grand ideological terms by any stretch of the imagination.
Just a month ago, Babiš launched his own clothing company with a mean and moody image aimed at appealing to younger voters. Analysts say Babiš has previously held a variety of different opinions and may well change position in the future.
Babiš is basically, he believes in a kind of crude managerialism and centralizing power and running the country like a firm, and he's willing really to use whatever ideological rhetoric suits.
Voters go to the polls in early October facing a choice between unpopular coalition parties, a far-right anti-immigrant movement that's gained momentum, and Babiš's populist promises. John Todd for TVP World.
A Canadian energy company has made the largest oil and gas discovery ever recorded on Polish territory, identifying a major deposit in the Baltic Sea near the northwestern port city of Świnoujście. Now, Volyn East, operated by Central European Petroleum, could produce up to 200 million barrels of oil. Randy Potts reports.
Professor Krzysztof Galos, Poland's chief national geologist and a deputy environmental minister, said the new find could be a turning point for the Polish energy industry.
If this discovery is ultimately confirmed, the Volyn East deposit could become the largest deposit of crude oil and associated natural gas ever discovered in Poland.
Privately held energy company Central European Petroleum announced the discovery on Monday at the Volyn East well. These offshore jack-up platforms in the North Sea start at 9.5 meters deep and can reach depths of almost 3,000 meters. After the discovery, CEP CEO Rolf G. Skar said in a press release that
this is a historic moment for both Central European Petroleum and the Polish energy sector. Volyn East is more than just a promising deposit. It is a shared opportunity to unlock the full geological and energy potential of the Baltic Sea.
The Volyn concession, near the Szczecin Lagoon, spans 593 square kilometers, and this most recent discovery involves very large deposits of both oil and gas. Current projections expect up to 22 million tons of oil. The Volyn East discovery also included natural gas. Projected gas production from the site is currently expected to reach 27 billion cubic meters of gas, equivalent to around 5% of the EU's total annual gas consumption.
So every drop counts when it comes to security of supply, and every drop you extract from your own soil is the cheapest drop of oil or a cubic meter of natural gas you can get. So it is interesting how it will turn out.
While the find will not make Poland the new oil capital of the world, as the largest discovery of oil and gas on Polish territory, it could prove to be quite a windfall for the country. For TVP World, this is Randy Potts.
It's one of Warsaw's most iconic and controversial landmarks. Standing tall above the city for 70 years now, the Palace of Culture and Science has stood as a symbol of Soviet influence, post-war ambition, and modern-day debate. Now, love it or not, it's hard to miss. Alexandra Szalek gives us a glimpse of just how this towering landmark has changed over the decades.
70 years ago, on July 21st, 1955, Warsaw gained a new symbol that remains one of the most recognizable buildings in Poland, the Palace of Culture and Science. This symbolic building with 42 floors, standing over 230 meters tall, was completed after just 3 years of construction. The idea for the Palace of Culture and Science was conceived by Joseph Stalin himself as a gift from the Soviet people to Poland. Because of its complicated origin, the building still stirs controversy among Polish society.
Poland had to pay for it, of course, by coal exports, but that was the general idea. And so the Polish authorities had a choice between picking the Palace of Culture, this huge community centre, or a underground metro line. And they picked this one.
70 years on, the building still serves essentially the same functions as when it opened, which are mostly cultural, highlights Katarzyna Osowiecka, president of the management board of the Palace of Culture and Science.
We have 4 theaters in the building. We have 1 cinema. We have such a youth center where the kids can attend different activities.
For 18 years now, the building has been registered as a monument, and for many people it is the main reference point on the map of Warsaw.
I think it's monumental, impressive, beautiful, distinctive and delightful. For me, it's the symbol of Warsaw, the old one and the current one, and it should be preserved.
I think because of the other buildings, they are so modern, and then this one between it stands out. That's why I find it's so beautiful.
As the palace marks its 70th anniversary, everyone is invited to join a variety of organized events to celebrate.
Tomorrow from noon we have a picnic for families, for kids in the Świętokrzyski Park, and as from 5 we have a big event in front of the palace with concerts, exhibition of a known Warsaw photographer, a bit of talks about the history, future, just lots of fun.
After 70 years, the Palace of Culture and Science remains an enduring symbol of Warsaw's complex history, connecting the past with the present for many to enjoy. This report for TVP World by Aleksandra Szarek.
Now focusing on the latest developments in Ukraine, where another night of deadly Russian strikes targeted Kyiv. Meanwhile, as the Ukraine Defense Contact Group met virtually today, France's foreign minister arrived in Kyiv for high-level talks, including with Ukraine's new prime minister. Now, joining me to unpack this all is Bogdan Nahailo, editor-in-chief of Kyiv Post. Bogdan, welcome to TVP World.
Pleasure to be with you again.
Bogdan, so there's really a lot happening, particularly in Kyiv. Now, let me first ask you about these latest Russian strikes that took place overnight. Tell me, how would you say that these Russian tactics are evolving compared to how they used to be?
Well, I think it's clear that they've upped the pressure. This has been clear in the last 3 weeks. They're taking advantage of the delays that Trump has again introduced. He could have taken action weeks ago, if not months ago, but he decided to give the Russians another 50 days of breather in case they wanted to make some kind of a deal. And they've replied by simply stepping up the attacks. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had very intensive strikes. I was there in Kyiv. I just got back last week from Kyiv. It was horrible all night, and last night was the same. And remember, it's not just Kyiv that's being hit. They're targeting cities all around the country. Last night, Ivano-Frankivsk in western Ukraine was hit very badly. And clearly the tactic is to both show the West that they cannot really influence Moscow, that Moscow will do as it pleases, that Moscow is going for broke, that is all or nothing, give us the maximum that we demand, and that we don't want to make any concessions, ceasefires that would allow Ukraine to, get a breather, get its forces together, etc., or to show any willingness that the Russians want to stop the war. So it's a very, very difficult situation. Fortunately, Europe is galvanizing. It's getting its act together in trying to get anti-missile, anti-drone
Well, let me ask you,
weapons
just
to
about
Ukraine
that, Bogdan. I'm just going to ask you just about that with everything that you said. The Ukraine Defense Contact Group met online today. Ukraine's new Minister of Defense, Shmyhal, has appealed to German counterparts, British counterparts, to help Ukraine address, correct me if I'm wrong, $6 billion procurement funding gap for 2025. What do you make of that? Do you think that officials are actually talking seriously, or is it going to be enough, or is this going to be just broken promises? What would you say?
Look, there's one level. They have to talk about figures. They have to have a ballpark figure. So it's serious in the sense of giving an estimate. But even more serious is the talk, apparently, that 5 or 6 Patriot missile systems are going to be sold, as it were, via Germany to Ukraine, and will arrive in the next months, if not weeks. That is very important. Figures are figures. The financial help is very important, and estimates change, as exchange rates change. But what is desperately needed in Ukraine are the means to stop the missile and drone attacks, which have grown larger and larger per day. I mean, the Germans are saying that the Russians are planning to use 2,000 drones and missiles in the next attacks. That's substantial. Right now, even in their massive attacks, they're using 500, 600, 400. So clearly the Russian tactic is to both terrorize the Ukrainians into some kind of submission, and also to show the West that they're really powerless in the short term, with America sitting on the fence under Trump to do much about it.
And Bogdan, Kyiv, France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot is in Kyiv for 2 days with high-level talks. Tell me, in a previous report, we saw also ambassadors gathered there. Now, does this trip for France, how much influence do you think now with Jean Barrot there, can France actually shape EU or NATO support for Ukraine, and what could actually be at stake?
Look, the French foreign minister's visit is important symbolically. It's part of, the ongoing symbolism of strong support from Britain, Germany, France, Poland, and many other countries, right? The coalition of the willing. So it's nothing exceptional. It's part of the ongoing show of support. But what is exceptional is, again, that these attacks have come just as he arrived. So he is going to communicate not only to Paris, but to NATO countries, to Washington, that, look, this really is serious. We cannot just let the Ukrainians stick it out for as long as we decide that to get our act together. The onus is on Washington, of course, but at least, as I said before, Europe is now galvanized. It's going through the motions, not only of supplying moral, political, financial support, but getting weapons to Ukraine and helping to close the skies. And the French are playing a part in this, together with the Brits and the Germans in particular.
Bogdan, we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you this. It might be, of course, a little too early to tell, but you have a new prime minister, Yulia Sviridenko. You have quite a shuffle in the Ukrainian cabinet. Now, what do you think is Ukraine's war strategy and diplomatic outreach going to look like? Has it shifted? Or will it shift? Like I said, again, I know it's a little too early to tell, but what do you predict?
It has shifted because it's been forced by the Trump administration to, try to placate what should we call him in Washington, the president, Daddy, as he's known, the daddy that would like to be seen as the world's daddy, who is under immense pressure at home because of the Epstein affairs and other things. So he is under pressure to deliver. Remember that we have pending in the Congress, in the Senate, a bill to to raise the level of sanctions against Russia. That's pending. Perhaps what is happening now in Ukraine, these constant attacks, intensified attacks, will force his hand, even if it's in a cynical way, to divert attention away from the Epstein affair, to show that he can be firm and can stand up for America's and the free world's interests. Right now, that's been lacking. And fortunately, within Europe, as I've mentioned, Europe is getting its act together with the new chancellor in Germany, with France, with Britain, but with Polish support, with the support of the Scandinavian countries, Finland, Canada. It's coming together, but Ukraine badly needs to close the skies now, and the Russians are trying to show the West, the free world, that we'll do as we please. It's going to take you forever, and you're not going to change the situation. Must have come to terms on our terms.
Thank you so much, Bogdan Nahailo, editor-in-chief of the Kyiv Post, and we'll also look forward to seeing if Russia this time around will agree to a ceasefire. Thank you for being with us here on TVP World.
Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World News Tonight here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching, and stay with us for more news, features, and interviews.